This is Noise from the Cranium. My name is Doug, and in this episode I'm going to focus on a particular storyline from the music scene in the 1960s that involved a little bit of intrigue and a lot of deception, and inadvertently led to music mogul Don Kirshner flexing his industry muscle to squash a disreputable production company that was taking liberties with one of his bands. In the last episode, we saw how Don Kirshner, burned by his experience with the Monkees, created a cartoon band called the Archies that had no ability to question either the songs he chose or the musicians he hired to record them. Kirshner's reluctance to put together a touring band to support the hit record led to another company doing it on his behalf. Unfortunately, it was without his consent. In fact, it was without any legal basis whatsoever. Not only that, they did it with a number of other bands as well. Delta Promotions, a U.S. management company in Bay City, Michigan, was started in 1964 by Jim Atherton and Bill Kehoe. They began by managing bands and operating teen dance clubs. They brought in big-name artists like the Byrds and Del Shannon to play their clubs, as well as local bands like Question Mark and the Mysterians, who had a hit with 96 Tears.
Too many teardrops for one heart to be crying. Too many teardrops for one heart to carry on.
Delta soon began managing a new version of Question Mark and the Mysterians. Most of the members of the band who were on the hit single had left, and lead singer Question Mark was trying to revive his career after a glue-sniffing arrest that had tarnished his reputation, and probably his nose. In early 1969, Mark Farner and Don Brewer, who were playing bass and drums in a band that Atherton was managing called The Pack, dropped by a Mysterians rehearsal to potentially play with the band. Instead, they talked the Mysterians bass player Mel Schachter into joining them to form a new power trio that they would call Grand Funk Railroad. Once Schachter quit, the Mysterians packed it in, leaving Delta without a band to manage. Meanwhile, as dance clubs had fallen out of fashion, Delta sold the clubs and started looking for a way to get into the rock concert scene. In the wake of the British invasion, they could see that there was a huge market for seated rock concerts and seemingly more opportunity than there were bands. To meet the demand, in 1969, they hatched a scheme to create a band that they could send out on tour to reap the rewards of this burgeoning market. They decided to start with a British band called the Zombies. The Zombies had a couple of hits during the British invasion, She's Not There and Tell Her No, which led to a short tour of the US in 1965.
Well, no one told me about her, the way she lied. Well, no one told me about her, how many people cried. But it's too late to say you're sorry. How would I know? Why should I care? Please don't bother trying to find her. She's not there.
Their next 10 singles flopped, their record contract expired, and after the first 2 singles from their album Odyssey and Oracle flopped, the band was broke. Mutually agreeing that it would be best, they split up in December of 1967 to pursue individual musical projects. Through a series of lucky breaks, 15 months after breaking up, they had a huge hit in the US with their song Time of the Season.
It's the time of the season when love runs high. In this time, give it to me easy and let me try with pleasured hands to take you in the sun to promised lands, to show you everyone it's the time of the season for love.
By March 1969, the song hit number 3 on the Billboard charts. At this point, the band members were all involved in other things and were not in a position to reform to capitalize on the success of the song. Delta, having likely read in one of the trade magazines that the Zombies had broken up, realized the band wasn't touring the US even with a smash hit single. Seeing an opportunity, they took it upon themselves to hire some American musicians to tour the States as the Zombies. Due to a chance meeting in Florida, Delta connected with a Texas-based blues band who were interested in signing on for a national tour, seemingly regardless of the circumstances. The band featured drummer Frank Beard and bassist Dusty Hill. You may say, wait a minute, those names sound familiar. Well, the same Frank Beard and Dusty Hill would go on to form ZZ Top with Billy Gibbons later in the year. In the meantime, Delta hired the band, but decided to test their scheme before committing to a full tour. The group auditioned for Delta by posing as American band Rose Garden, who had a hit in 1967 with Next Plane to London, but had broken up the following year.
Next plane to London, leaving on runway number 5. Next plane to London, I'm missing him.
Even though the real Rose Garden had a female lead singer, the four guys did a short tour, playing Rose Garden's one hit along with a number of blues songs. According to Dusty Hill, people did start asking where the girl was, but we did okay. Seemingly passing the Rose Garden audition, the band went to Michigan to take some promotional pictures for their upcoming tour as the Zombies. They were told to wear their own clothes, which explains why Hill and Beard wore cowboy hats when they posed as the British band, something the real band would never have worn. In a brazen move, and bolstered by the success of the short Rose Garden tour, the four-piece Texan band went off on tour as the five-piece British Zombies, regardless of the fact that they didn't have keyboards, which happened to be the lead instrument in the real Zombies. When asked, Beard would say that their keyboard player got busted and was in jail in Dallas. Not to be content with this arrangement, Delta then put together another band called the Zombies to tour other parts of the US at the same time. The second band was a five-piece from Michigan, originally called the Excels, who wore psychedelic clothes and did have a keyboard player. In fact, they were a really good band and had a few local hits at the time. It seems none of the concert promoters questioned anything. If they did, Delta would say that one original member was in the band, with Kehoe providing them with affidavits to that effect, even though it was not true. He would also say that they had legally acquired the rights to the Zombies catalog of songs, which was also not true. When any of the fake band members questioned the situation, Delta would give them a similar story about legally acquiring the songs, or say that they had copyrighted the name. In one case, a musician was told that they would be the Zombies' backing band if they ever decided to tour America. And in another, one of the Texas Zombies was told that the Zombies didn't exist and were just a studio construct. The Michigan band members completely fell for Kehoe's pitch, as did the Texas band, although Frank Beard and Dusty Hill must have suspected something, as they chose not to use their own names and used stage names instead. The 8x10 glossy photos used for promotion put quotations around the band name, probably as a flimsy sort of legal protection. Kehoe had provided the Michigan band with a road manager and a vehicle to tour with that had the Zombies' name painted on it. This version of the band was so good, they actually played for 10,000 people at a function in Utah State University, and it was this band that traveled to California to play the Whiskey A Go-Go. They did some radio promos at the time and weren't paid very much. Mostly they were playing small clubs and earning about $200 a week, with Delta Promotions taking in the majority of the money earned for the tour. Following a show in Michigan, the Saginaw News posted a less than stellar review of the Texas-based Zombies in 1969, stating the band was especially disappointing and the crowd began to leave during their fourth tune. The band didn't sound like they did back when they were selling millions of records. The article went on to explain that the change in sound was due to a complete reformation of the band, except for the bass player, who was said to be an original member. Delta Promotions, buoyed by their immediate success, or at least due to the fact that they didn't get caught, and in a greedy move to further capitalize on the situation, decided to put together two more fake bands, this time using another British invasion act, the Animals.
There is a house in New Orleans they call the rising sun.
The original Animals had morphed into Eric Burdon and the Animals, but had broken up in 1968. Delta had approached a local band, the Woolies, to go on the road as the Animals, but they were turned down. Eventually bands were found, and they were sent out on the road. It was only natural to follow that by getting in on the Archies action. Since they were a fictitious band to begin with, it would seem like a no-brainer to put together a fake Archies band to capitalize on the success of Sugar Sugar.
Sugar, oh honey, honey, you are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you.
Seeing an opportunity to take advantage of a situation, Delta did just that. In fact, they were so greedy, they followed their formula and put together two fake Archie bands to tour different parts of the US at the same time. One of the bands originated as a folk rock band called the Bluesberry Jams, who ended up adopting the names of the Archies characters. Even for the pre-internet days, Delta really had nerve. In the December 1969 issue of Rolling Stone magazine, Original Zombies bassist Chris White gave an interview regarding the fake zombies situation. He complained that the fake bands were taking money from their fans and dragging down their reputation. The fake zombies continued to tour despite requests to cease and desist. When confronted with the situation, Kehoe told a number of lies to Rolling Stone, including telling them that the original Zombies singer had been killed, and that the original Zombies were from Florida and Texas, but they disbanded, and another group that used to be called the Excels admired them and took their place. Although the charade continued, cracks were beginning to appear. The Michigan Zombies quit after the Rolling Stone article was published. Eric Burdon, the original singer of the Animals, was said to have confronted the fake Animals at one of their shows with a baseball bat and some bikers, which caused that band to pack it in on the spot. But it was the third fake band, the Archies, that succeeded in bringing down the company for good. Don Kirshner told Rolling Stone that he'd heard about the fake group and his lawyers were taking action. 2 weeks after the article ran, Kehoe, fearing legal reprisal from Kirshner's team of lawyers, pulled the bands off the road and quit the music business altogether, blasting DJs and the mafia in the process. He tried to say that he'd never indicated that any of these bands were real, contrary to the Rolling Stone article. Kehoe laughingly went on to say that one of his pet peeves is groups that cheat his company every chance they get. Finally, Kehoe said it just didn't work out in the music business. At least he can quit knowing he stayed honest. Talk about going down with the ship. Thanks to Bay County Historical Society for a very detailed account of this event, and to author Daniel Ralston, who broke the fake zombie story in 2016 on BuzzFeed. This has been Noise from the Cranium. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.